Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Open Source Entrepreneur. I am Casey Green. This is my esteemed, beloved, wonderful, beautiful co host, Jimmy
What's
Norlander.
up, everyone?
We are super excited to be here tonight. We've got an amazing guest that we will pull on in just 1 second. I already see him in the waiting room, so super excited to have him on. But first and foremost, Jimmy, you know what time it is. It is time for Take It or Leave It. We're going to start out with an episode, or what do you call it? Uh, section? Segment. That's what I'm looking for. A segment, one of my favorite ones called Take It or Leave It, where I throw something at Jimmy and he has to decide, is he going to take it or is he going to leave it? This came across my feed the other day and I was super fascinated by it. Again, I'm going to lean into Trump a little bit because the things he's doing the first handful of months that he's been president of the United States has been very intriguing. And like we talked about, I think last week, from a CEO perspective, golly jeepers, I'd love to have that guy as my CEO. He is coming in, moving fast, being decisive, making decisions, everything you want out of a CEO. So from that standpoint, like doing awesome things. Now, whether your political stance, whether you like him or not, he's been moving fast, right? So that's one of the things I like. So this actually comes from us again tonight from Trump, Jimmy. So here it is. And I don't know if you heard about this, but Trump is selling a gold card, is what he's calling it. It's like
Yes.
a upgraded version of like a green card. Now the catch is this thing cost $5 million. So for $5 million, you basically get a green card with he said green card plus. So I don't know everything that's involved, but basically you get to come in. It's a fast track to being a citizen here in the States. And this is what he says. I wanted to read the verbatim what he said. He said, this is for wealthy people that will be coming into the country buying this card, and they will be wealthy and successful and spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. So Jimmy, the gold card, your fast track to American citizenship, taken or leaving it?
Oh, do you know what? I, I might have to leave it.
Okay.
I mean, I can see both aspects on it. Where you know what? Take it because it brings people in, gets them working, great for the economy. $5 million that adds up, but also leave it because what do you do about all those other people who, do you know what? They do have maybe a a middle class job. They have things waiting for them, but yet they don't have the money to get them in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, so that's one of the things about America. It's a land of opportunity. I think Trump has that on full display right now. He says, "Okay, come over. Let's if you want to come over, this is a way to come over." I'm going to be on the opposite side of you. I'm going to take it. Here's the reason why I'm going to take it. It's I think a fantastic way to stimulate the economy. He's going to come in, and if you have $5 million, yes, maybe you're born into it, but you're probably a fairly successful person. So I do believe it's going to drive growth of the United States, and I do think it's another way that a revenue stream can come into the U.S. You get a handful of those, and all of a sudden you're eating away. And I don't know what happens to that money, but I imagine they're going to start, at least in Trump's administration, start to push that on to debts and start to fund other things that may be more beneficial for the society as a whole. So I'm actually going to take it. Now, here's my one caveat. This is a bad caveat. There are some pretty successful, not even successful, but successful. There are some pretty wealthy people that do some pretty bad things. So I'm not sure what type of like process they're going to have to go through, but like in the back, I was talking to my buddy about this the other day, and I told him about it. I was like, "Do you like it? Do you not like it?" And he said, "Man, there are a bunch of like drug dealers that would really love that opportunity." And I thought,
I,
yeah,
I was gonna
I
say,
guess that's true.
I was gonna say, if I was gonna take it, I'm like, it has to be almost like when you sign up for a cell phone service. There's terms and conditions, and if you break it, that contract is gone and you're gone.
Yep, yep. So very, very intriguing. I'm taking it. Jimmy's leaving it. I love it. Jimmy, the next segment I want to throw at you is my favorite quote of the week. I heard this. It's from Brian Tracy, and it says, "Fear and self-doubt have always been the greatest enemies of human potential."
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to me about that. What do you think?
I mean, fear, when you have fear and that self-doubt, you can't go anywhere. The only way to even go anywhere in life, I should say, to succeed in life, is you have to hit that fear.
Yeah.
You have to hit that growth. Heck, even it's just getting a new job, going to school, learning a trade, just putting yourself out there to learn something. It's not easy. And so you have to get behind that fear to have that self-growth, just to grow as an individual, to even improve yourself as an individual.
Agreed. You know, calling it the greatest enemy of human potential hit hard for me because there are so many times where, especially when I was younger, I'm getting better the older I get because I really think I'm getting to a phase where I'm like, I don't give two farts. If I go do something and it fails, like it's not the end of the world. But when I was growing up, I was incredibly concerned about my self-perception and really what other people perceived of me as well because I didn't want to be a failure. I didn't want to be that guy that tried something and it didn't work. And so now as I get older, I'm beginning to understand a little bit that I really don't care what other people think. Certainly, I want to make sure my wife is taken care of, my family's taken care of. But I've started so many things, and I will start more things. And I've started things that have failed. It's just part of life. And I think when we celebrate those, as we celebrate those failures as much as we celebrate our successes, that's where real human growth comes in. You can look at it from your business. If you are doing something and you're failing, congratulations, you're trying something. You're trying to move your business forward. And I think people always try to stay on the safe side. Not everybody and not all the time, but they try to stay on the safe side of things because they want to minimize risk. But in that risk, there's such massive growth and massive potential. We've had guests on that have tried new things all the time in their businesses. Some are successful and some are not.
Mhm.
And sure as the day is long, the sun's going to come up tomorrow. You're going to figure things out. You're going to be scrappy. You're going to keep moving, and it's going to be okay. But having that fear and self-doubt be the greatest enemy of human potential hit me hard this week.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's not delay
Hey,
anymore because we
I was gonna
have. I've
ask really
said.
quick. Can you see like this lighting is horrible, isn't
I
it?
mean, it's a little rough. It's a little top lit. That is what it is.
I mean,
Yeah.
and there's a light directly upon me, so
Yeah. I mean, like everything you are doing right now, you like the little light bulb, boop, right? Like everything you're saying is super wise.
I
But
had to change the scenery, so that's why.
yeah, but I love it. A baseball and it looks like Minnie Mouse in the background and maybe Darth Vader. Can't be any worse than my you going on, but
It's my boys' room.
yeah. Well, that is my boy. No, I'm just kidding. My office. But I don't want to delay anymore. I'm actually going to pull him on right here, and then I'm going to introduce him as he's coming on. So, Kurt, you should actually be seeing an invite. Let me read him on. So today we're going to talk to Kurt London, a seasoned personal injury attorney and a partner at London Harker. With a background in law spanning major firms and advocacy work, Kurt has fought for justice in cases ranging from car accidents to wrongful convictions. He's recovered millions for his clients and currently serves as the board president of the Rocky Mountain Innocence Center. Beyond the courtroom, he's an avid outdoorsman who loves hiking, backpacking, and spending time with his family. Guys, let's please welcome to the podcast, Kurt London.
Guys,
What up, Kurt?
hey, how are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Good.
Man, we
I
are.
think I think my lighting's just as bad as Jimmy's. Nope.
Yeah. Oh, and see, this is my favorite part about it. We've always got to have something go cattywampus on us.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's live. That's how you know it's real. And we're talking to real human beings that are making mistakes just like you. It's okay. Kurt, tell us a little bit. Super excited to have you. This is the first time we've had an attorney on. My brother's an attorney, and he talks in a completely different language than I even understand. So tonight, please recognize that Jimmy and I are going to need you to dumb it down for us just a little bit as we
Yeah.
talk about some really complex things in the personal injury world. So super excited to have you. One thing I didn't cover, I would love for you to kind of build up your credentials a little bit. Talk to people about your education, where you started, because I know that you went to a couple of different institutions. So walk us through that, what that looked like. What was your road from, maybe a snot-nosed boy playing football or whatever you were doing to like, I'm going to be a successful personal injury attorney.
Well, I originally grew up in California, moved up to Utah to Provo for BYU.
Okay.
Was there for a year, went on an LDS mission for 26 months in Russia and Kazakhstan.
Oh, dang.
Came back, finished up my bachelor's degree. I took a year off to work as a personal injury paralegal for a
Okay.
law firm while I prepped for law school. In that time, I actually got in a motorcycle accident where I had to have back surgery. Um, Then I went to law school, another 3 years, finished up. I did some paralegal, or not paralegal, I did some personal injury stuff during law school. Also did some clerkships with various, courts, law firms, things like that. And then when I graduated, I worked as a nonprofit attorney for a couple of years. And then when I needed to start paying the bills and get health
I
insurance,
was gonna,
that's when I
I was gonna say, I was gonna say.
yeah, when I did enough service and my credit card was maxed out, that's when I went back to personal injury.
Okay, I love
Yeah.
it. So for people who may not know, one thing that I actually found really fascinating about my brother's journey through him becoming an attorney, he also did some clerking for people, and I don't think people understand how much of a fast track that can be for a career, or how many connections that can help make. So will you explain a little bit what it is to be a clerk, and kind of how that might have helped your career also?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like an internship, but you're acting like a junior attorney for whoever you're clerking with. So I had a few clerkships with different judges, law firms, um, and it's kind of like testing the waters as to how you'd be for an employee. That's also how you build your network. When you're in law school, you're just trying to survive classes all day, every day. So in that summer between the different years, that's when you got to network really hard and clerk with as many people as possible. That's also when you're trying to hone in what area of law you want to practice.
Okay.
Because law school is really general. They don't tell you what, what is what. It's really basic. So in between each year of practice, that's when you should try to at least narrow it down to a little bit of more of a focus than what you normally have.
And what was the most fascinating for you about personal injury? Like this, besides having to get out of the nonprofit and have to pay the bills, why personal injury?
Um, I just like sticking up for the little guy. So you have a victim of a crime because it literally is a crime. Someone's breaking a citation or traffic code and hitting you, and they're up against this big machine, this corporate machine. And as soon as you get in an accident, that insurance company is going to start working against you. So they're going to be hiring, people to do investigations on you. They're going to be on your social medias. They're going to be taking recorded statements. Literally, from the time it's reported to them, they are building their case against you. And when I had my motorcycle accident, I mean, I'm a pretty intelligent guy, but I settled my case for pennies on the dollar. I had to pay for my own back surgery out of my own pocket. And if I can get taken advantage by an insurance company like that, then everyone else can. So that's really what kind of turned everything on for me was that motorcycle accident. And it's fun helping someone in need that much. It's just also nice getting your bills paid
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Also, yes, 100%. Um, that's really interesting. Like you don't know what you don't know at that point in the ballgame,
Yeah.
and so you probably thought when you signed that deal that like, man, I'm going to get some money, I'm going to get whatever taken care of. How many people are settling far below what they should be because they are afraid of this big behemoth?
I've heard some statistic that 9 out of 10 people in Utah settle their own personal injury
Oh, dang.
claims without help from an attorney. So by far, I mean, insurance companies aren't dumb. They do all sorts of math and algorithms, and they have all the statistics and everything. And they know if you're not an attorney or represented by an attorney, there's nothing you can do to them. So they'll
Yeah,
lowball you. They'll try to flash $1,000 in your face, and say, "Hey, we'll pay your medical bills and give you $1,000 cash tomorrow. Just sign this," and it works.
yeah,
Well, a lot of people, $1,000, it's like, okay, if you're going to pay my medical bills and I get $1,000 on it, not realizing if they could triple or quadruple that, you know, uh, with an attorney, a lot of people are going to take that because money's tight for a lot of people. So it's like, okay, you're going to pay for my medical bills and give me $1,000. Okay, this is no brainer. I'm going to do it.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what I settled my case for. I got some chiropractic treatment. I got the medical bills paid, and I literally got $1,000. And then 5 years down the road, I had to get back surgery because I didn't get the right imaging, didn't get the right treatment, didn't get any help or direction because the insurance company is not going to help you. They told me if I hired an attorney, they'd take all my money, so I wouldn't get anything. So you're right, $1,000 did sound good at the time.
Mhm.
so
I just took it.
they straight up bullied you.
Oh yeah,
That's brutal. Um, knowing that car accident injuries are a specialty of yours, and not to veer too far off topic, but what are some things that people should be doing? Because unfortunately there's a large amount of accidents that happen all the time. What are some things as somebody, if you are in an accident, you should immediately do? Like, should you be taking pictures of things? Should you like what are some steps that people can do to at least begin to isolate, themselves and prevent any like misconceptions of what's happening?
yeah. The very first thing is call the police. Always, always, always call the police. Even if it's a minor incident, there's not much damage to the vehicles. You want that documented. And they will also do an exchange of information. So they'll exchange the parties' information between one another. A lot of times people lie about their information or they admit fault to you, but as soon as they get called later on, they change their story. After you call the police, make sure to take photos and videos of the property damage, of license plates, and of the scene of the accident. Because as soon as those cars are moved, you lose a lot of documentation. And sometimes it depends on exactly where the cars are placed after the accident happens. It helps us determine what exactly happened. Because again, when people go home and think about it, they don't want to be held liable for it. So more often than not, they change their story.
Stories start being made.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Kurt. Say you're on the freeway, someone hits you, do you pull off in a safe spot and then call the police, or do you call the police right there and then wait till they come and take pictures and everything? Because sometimes the police will be like, just get off the road, just get off the road.
Yeah.
So what
If
what would you do in that situation?
you do whatever's safest.
Okay.
So if it's safe to pull off the front side of the road and then take pictures and communicate with the police, then do that. If it's too dangerous, like traffic is too heavy or the accident's too severe, don't move your vehicle. Just call the cops.
I mean, it's kind of a win-win. If you get hit and then you get out to get pictures, you get hit again. I mean, you got like three or four claims going at one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, just make sure it's like a semi truck or a FedEx truck that hits you the second time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So as part of your evidence, I just thought of this as part of your evidence gathering routine. I know that usually when I've unfortunately been in a couple of car accidents, I get out, usually you talk to the person. Fortunately, they haven't been bad, but you're talking to the person that you were involved in the accident with. Are you recording this conversation or should you be? And if you are, do you have to disclose you're recording it?
Um, no, Utah is a first party state, so only one person, or it's a single party state, only one person has to know of the recording. You
Okay.
can record whoever you want. You can record those interactions. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. Now, one thing people don't realize is that cops are usually wearing body cam footage now, body cameras. So almost on every single accident, they're going to have body cam
Okay.
footage of those conversations as well. So if you forget to do that, that's fine. The police will do it, and they will separate the parties and interview them. And they'll also document the scene. They'll usually do a like an accident diagram on their police report,
Yeah.
and they'll indicate who's at fault according to their research as well. Um, so don't stress too much if you're not recording it. It's busy. Like that's the last thing people want to think about.
Mhm.
And then you're talking to someone and holding a phone in their face or whatever. Um, at the bare minimum, they'll get photos.
Yeah. I just know. So my daughter and I were in an accident. It's been a couple years, and the kid literally said to us, "I chose a bad time to fall asleep." And I was like, "Yeah, you did." And he actually, the funny thing is, he actually told that to the cop too. And I was like, "Perfect, like
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, we're
Thank
done.
you.
We're done here.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
appreciate
wrap.
you." That's pretty funny. But I just wanted that got me thinking. Had he told me that and then not told that to the officer, I wonder if I had any moral high ground at that point in the ball game to say he said he fell asleep. If that did anything.
Yeah.
Um, really, really intriguing. So you mentioned that a lot of people try to go by themselves. 90% of them, just doesn't work out. The question I really have is like, when should someone seek to find a personal injury attorney versus trying to go something themselves? I would assume the answer is like never go it alone. But like, walk me through that. When do we look for a personal injury attorney?
So there's really two answers to that question. First, well, get medical treatment first. That's your first concern. Go to the Instacare ER, get taken care of if you're feeling any pain. After that, call an attorney because, like I said, the insurance companies are already working against you. The attorney has to play catch up. So the attorney has to get in there. We don't have access to those recorded statements immediately. We have to go and get the police reports. So while the insurance companies are calling all the witnesses and getting these recorded statements, the attorney is usually not involved in that process then. Um, Now, in Utah, we have what's called a PIP threshold, a personal injury protection threshold of $3,000. What that means is everyone's insurance that's from Utah has that $3,000 mark. That means your insurance will pay the first $3,000 of medical bills.
Okay.
Now, in Utah, if your medical bills don't go above that $3,000 limit, you are not entitled to a personal injury claim. So, if you do hire an attorney for them to actually help you get a settlement or an insurance settlement, you need to go above that mark. So normally what we would do is I always say, just go get a consultation and talk to an attorney. And if you hire one and you end up not getting treatment or you end up not going past that threshold, we don't charge you, we don't send you an invoice, we just close your claim.
Okay.
So we only get paid if the injured person gets paid. So you might as well get one involved and immediately to make sure things are preserved properly. Because like footage from a restaurant or from a grocery store that's local or nearby, they usually delete that footage after 7 days. So if you don't get an attorney involved quick, that evidence is going to start disappearing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think something that's interesting, Kurt, that a lot of people don't realize is that 3,000 PIP, everybody has it. It's not something that's extra on your
Yep.
insurance. So I mean, if you get in an auto accident, sometimes that pain doesn't happen until, 3 or 4 days after the accident. So go get some preventative treatment. Go, go to a chiropractor, go to the ER, because you're not going to be paying anything because you have that $3,000. So you might as well use it.
Right. And even if you have health insurance, your health insurance won't pay anything until that $3,000 is used up anyways. So it's something you've been paying for every month that you have access to. That's why Utah's called a no fault state,
Mm,
because it doesn't matter if you're at fault or not, you get that $3,000 of medical treatment either way.
So does your insurance go up then if you use that 3,000?
Nope, it's illegal for them to increase your rates for using your PIP.
Gotcha.
what are generally some of the things that people do wrong when it comes to an accident? You said the things we should do, but what are we doing that we're not supposed to be doing?
Oh, there's a lot. Um, not documenting the scene, not getting medical treatments. They wait too long to get medical treatments, especially in Utah. Um, we have a lot of tough guys here. And they try to, stick it out. The longer you wait from the time of the accident until you get medical treatment is actually a big deal legally. So if you wait 3 or 4 months, then you show up to the ER, it's going to be really hard to show that
Mm,
nothing else happened within those 3 or 4 months. Posting stuff on social media, you shouldn't be doing that. Talking to the insurance, you shouldn't be doing that.
your
The
insurance
insurance,
or their insurance?
their insurance.
Okay.
Your insurance, you legally have to.
Okay.
Now, their insurance, the thing is they don't really distinguish. They just say, "Hey, I'm so from the insurance company. We want to ask a few questions." They don't really explain things very
Interesting.
well. And you give a recorded statement when you're in pain, you're going to say some dumb things. Especially, people don't realize that certain words have certain legal ramifications. That's why they call you quickly after the accident. Um, Over treating, so getting too much medical treatment, getting too little medical treatment, um, malingering, so like exaggerating your symptoms. A big thing that I see that Jimmy comes into play with is people don't get mental health treatment. That's probably a big one. Everyone complains of PTSD and anxiety, every single person,
Interesting.
but they're more concerned about getting their neck taken care of than their mental anxiety and emotions. So my wife she got rear-ended twice, and every time there's brake lights now, she gets panicked, like on the freeway, because she thinks she's going to get rear-ended from the car behind
Yeah.
her. So those are a few of the basics, but there's literally so many ins and outs with insurance companies and claims. That's why it's nice to have a team watching your back, because someone who's not experienced in this and hasn't done it thousands of times isn't going to know what to do or what not to do.
Well, would you say that's one of the biggest misconceptions? You said something a minute ago that you don't get paid unless, your client gets a settlement. Is that one of the biggest misconceptions about hiring an attorney, especially a private injury or a personal injury attorney?
Oh yeah, because everyone's used to the model where we bill by the hour and we want a retainer. But our thing is we're taking a risk taking the case on. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But we're in it with you, so it's a good incentivization for us to do a good job. So even if we have a bunch of expenses, like we have to hire an expert, and we're not able to get you a settlement, then we're not going to be coming after you for with that money that we're out of pocket either. So we literally only get paid or only receive income from a settlement or a judgment, and that's the only way. We're not going to send anyone a bill or anything like that.
And what does that typically look like? Is it a percentage of the money you receive? Is it per case, like a different every case?
It's usually a percentage. So most attorneys in Utah charge the same percentages. It's 33% before litigation,
Okay.
40% once you get into litigation. That's pretty common. Our firm's a little bit different where we don't take more money than the client gets. So if there's something wrong with like the policy limits, there's not enough money to go around, we will reduce our fee. So worst case scenario, the client gets as much money as we do.
Yeah.
A lot of attorneys, they'll get the medical bills paid, they'll take their full fee, and then whatever the client gets, the client gets. But we just don't think it's fair to victimize someone twice.
Yeah, I agree. How is that? I want to shift a little bit because now you kind of moved into that business realm. How difficult is that when you say we're basically going to kill what we eat? We're going to do a good job. We're going to win. We're going to get money. How do you store up for expenses? How do you guys set money aside? What does that look like on the regular to keep you in the black?
Yeah.
The $1 million question,
Yeah.
literally.
That's literally the hardest thing about starting business and personal injury, because your smallest claims, your smallest injuries from the time that client walks into the door, you're probably not going to get paid for 5 or 6 months for your smallest
Yeah.
claims. The bigger ones, it could be 5, 6, 7, 8 years sometimes. It just takes a lot of planning, especially financially, keeping things really lean in the beginning.
Yeah.
Usually, your pipeline for cash flow is going to be fully mature after 3 or 4 years for
Okay.
personal injury. Um, so, like for us, our first year, well, we've been open for a year and a half on our own. Our first calendar year, we were in the red. This next year, we'll be breaking even, and the year after that, we'll have a
Big
profit.
and black.
But we anticipated that going into it, so we had some surplus saved up for that. Um, but that's the biggest problem, and that's why you'll see when people do offshoot from personal injury, like bigger firms, they usually have to bootstrap it. They're working from home. They don't have any staff at all. They're trying to keep it really, really lean and tight until they have more cash flow coming in before they
Do you
expand.
think there's a stigma wrapped around that? If I call and I say, hey, I need a personal injury attorney, and you're like, great, meet me in my house versus meet me in an
That's
office, is there some stigma around that? How do you ask the
yeah.
right questions to make sure, obviously, Kurt, we want everybody to call you now, but assuming that they don't have your phone number, how do you know if you're getting a good, a mediocre, or a bad attorney?
In personal injury, that actually boils down to one question, and it's really easy. Do you litigate? So, do you take cases to court? In our industry, people think that all attorneys go to court, and they do not. A
Interesting.
large portion of personal injury attorneys don't. They're scared of court. But if you don't go to court, you really don't know what your case is worth, because ultimately, a case is worth as much as a judge would award you.
Right.
And then the insurance companies aren't dumb. They know you're not going to go take them to court. So they'll lowball you and give you a lot lower. So that's one of the most important questions to ask is, do you go to court? Um, Clients usually don't care too much about your office because you really never see them. You see them when you sign them up.
Okay.
Our firm, we go to their house wherever it's most comfortable and convenient for them, because meeting with an attorney is already stressful. No one likes us. Like, we're big, we're scary, right? So we like to go to their house. They almost will never come to our office anyways.
Okay.
I don't think that's really a barrier, but people do think when they hire a bigger firm that they're getting a bigger team, and they're really not. You're actually getting a smaller team that has a much bigger caseload.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you guys have been open for about a year and a half on your own. How do you find clients?
Network, network, network. Um, we're in an industry where there are several large firms, the 800-pound gorillas, that have almost infinite funds to spend on marketing.
Yeah.
Billboards, jazz endorsements, NHL, all of that. That's not a space that we can even compete in because we don't have $700,000 a month to dump on, advertisements. So it's really personal relationships. It's return referrals from clients doing a great job, great customer service, asking for Google reviews, being involved in the community, because people want to hire someone they know, like, and trust. Well, when they've seen me on a nonprofit board for 10 years, or they've seen me at this event or that event, usually that's who they'll call.
So
So
you do.
instead of
So you,
spending money, we spend our time on marketing.
I was going to say, so you try to make yourself as visible as possible, be involved in the community, go to sporting event, whatever it
Yep.
is, just so that people get used to seeing your face. Matter of fact, that's actually a really good marketing principle. I went, one of my favorite things that I saw recently, I went to a conference where there was a lot of different companies that were trying to advertise and market their thing, whatever their thing was. And we had a booth there. My company had a booth there. And all of a sudden, I became very cognizant that I saw one company specifically walking around, and they all had the same shirt on. I looked for their booth. They didn't have one. They were like their own walking booths. And so not only were they like hitting the sales floor, but what had happened is I started to see this shirt of this company. And so by the time I actually talked to them, I felt like I already knew this company because I had seen them 7, 8, 9, 10, a dozen
Yep.
times. And I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are definitely know what they're doing because they're all over the place. And so I think that's a very valid principle that, hey, if you are out in the community, if you're networking, if you're meeting new people, there's a high likelihood when people see you, they'll be like, oh, that's Kurt. Yeah, I know, I see Kurt around. And there's that familiarity which breaks down the barriers, which I think is a really kind of cool grassroots marketing campaign or movement that people can institute very, very easily. It just is that
Yep.
human capital that you have to invest.
Yep.
I think that's
Well,
Exactly.
really,
well, money doesn't. I mean, you're gonna have $700,000 a month for billboards, but that doesn't pay for that personal touch that you get with meeting somebody. So, I mean, what would you rather have? A friend that says, "Hey, do you know I've worked with Kurt out in the community. He's a great PI attorney," or, "Man, I've seen 5 billboards of them. They must be good." You're gonna go for that. You're gonna go with that person who's had that experience and knows that person individually.
Right. And when you have a smaller firm too, it is the personal touch. So like providers can call my cell phone, text me when they have questions. Clients, the same thing. We're really available. We get back to people really quickly. We contact our clients, once or twice a week, see how they're doing. Big firms, you don't do get, you don't get that. You don't get access to your clients. You don't get access to your attorneys or the staff really. Providers, chiropractors, physical therapists, like they can't really contact the attorneys. So even them for their own referrals, like they usually shy away from bigger firms because they don't even know the attorneys. This big behemoth
Mm.
company. Whereas for me, it's they make an appointment, they show up, I'm there, or they text me. Usually I respond pretty quickly. So
And
that's all part of the marketing.
I love that. Yeah, that is part of marketing, the customer service experience that you get. I love that part of it. We have a dentist that we've been going to for, golly, I don't know, 10, 12 years. And as many clients as he has, if we have a procedure, if we have something that we're worried about, he still puts the time and effort into like sending a text message. Hey, it's Dr. So-and-so. How you feeling? What's going on? And I swear every time somebody says, I need a new dentist, I'm like, I got one. Like I will readily give that
Yeah.
event, that person away because not only are they good at their craft, but then the care and concern is there. And
Yep.
so I have to anticipate that you're going to get the same thing by giving that to your clients, right? Hey, we're going to give you a personal touch. We're going to be with you every step of the way. And there's nothing worse than feeling like you're on an island when you're paying for a service or needing a service and they're just barely touching the experience and they're not really moving the experience along. We have a financial planner that we use. And same thing, we actually jumped ship to a different financial planner because we were paying money to one and we never heard from them unless they were trying to upsell us a service. And when we went to the new one, we meet with them almost monthly. They go over things, and they just want to check on us. So I think what you guys are doing, what I'm getting at is what you're doing is in the right vein of taking care of clients, and that always wins out.
Yep.
Always wins.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
So my guess is being open for a year and a half. You've had some really cool claims. There are some really cool things that you've litigated. Tell me like one of your favorite, most awe-inspiring wins that has come your way.
Awe-inspiring wins. I think the most gratifying one is I had a case against Cafe Rio where one of their executives was driving a vehicle and he was texting, and then he rear-ended our client at a high rate of speed. And they were just fighting us tooth and nail on that claim. They didn't want to pay out at all. My client ended up getting 5 surgeries.
Oh my God.
He had 4 back surgeries and a knee surgery. So his back surgeries gave him foot drop. And because he had foot drop, he was walking different and ended up wearing out his knee. So he had to get a knee replacement. And we had to litigate it and go all the way up to the eve of trial. And we were able to get him a really good result. But just walking away from him getting nothing, they blamed him for it. They said he was lying about the facts of the accident, lying about basically everything, lying about his treatment. He fabricated everything to getting him, a really decent sized settlement where he could retire and worry about, his health the rest of his life.
Yeah.
That was probably the most satisfactory claim I've had for a long time.
So I guess follow-up question, do you still eat at Cafe Rio? I don't know.
We joked about that during the negotiations, if it'll be like a gift card for life's worth of burritos or something.
You can only eat at Costa Vida.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it was really confusing because I guess they have their own private car fleet for their executives that aren't marked as Cafe Rio
Oh,
vehicles. So when we got
interesting.
involved, it was like some Mazda SUV. We sent a letter of representation, and all of a sudden Cafe Rio responds. We're like, wait a second, what is going on here?
That is crazy.
So sometimes you never know.
So what made you decide to branch out on your own? Because that is a big first step. And you just said you were in the red for the whole first year. You're looking forward to maybe being in the black this year. Why did you do it? What made you make the jump?
I wanted to treat my clients the way I wanted to treat them, and I wanted to work with providers that did the same thing.
Okay.
Working for someone else, you have no say as to basically how the workflow is going to go. You have no say as to who you work with. So I was working with providers I didn't think were doing ethical things for our clients. I didn't think they treated my clients well. They didn't treat my staff well. I had to take clients that would treat my staff awful, which I didn't agree with. Now, if they're mean to my staff, they're gone. Fire them. We refuse to work with a fair amount of providers. We don't need their business because they make my staff's life hell, and they don't treat my clients that well. So that's the biggest thing, is litigating and operating in the right way to get the best results for our clients in the manner that we think is the right way. So we do take more time and effort and money to build up every claim. because we prep every case like it's going to go to trial. And that's the best way to serve your client, make sure that their health is taken care of, and that their health is taken care of and the settlement takes care of itself.
Yeah.
And the other companies I was with, they just didn't, they operated, they wanted to get it done quick. They wanted to do it fast, no matter if it was good for the client or not.
Yeah. Talk to me about the support system you have around you, because I think every entrepreneur has that moment where they're like, I'm going to make this big jump and it's going to be scary and there might be some lean times and the life that we're used to may be a little different for a while. Talking about the support system that you have around you as you said, okay, here we go, we're going to do it. How important was that for you?
You know, we kind of contemplated this jump for about a year before we actually did it. And bless my wife's heart, she was so supportive the whole time.
Awesome.
And as we were getting together with my partner and actually like working through the details and formulating our plan, getting a timeline going, I'd ask her, like, are you sure? Like, you don't think I'm crazy? Like, you're going to be there for me. Everything's going to be okay, right? So she was really the one that kind of gave me the bedrock foundation to make that jump. And she's always been so supportive, whether it worked out or not. She was right there helping me with that everything. So she was probably the one who sacrificed the most in the jump by, I'm in the office at 4 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes I get home at 6 or 7. And when I get home, I walk right into my home office and I'm just working. She's the one taking care of the kids, making sure everything's okay, making sure the house is running, never bugging me or nagging me. She's just there supporting me. So that was probably the biggest thing. If I were single or didn't have that, I'm not sure if I could have lasted this long because it's tough.
Yeah.
You both know running a business and stuff. It's tough in the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to talk to entrepreneurs about this. Did you have a moment? There's that story of the Navy fleet or the warriors that were going to battle. They came in on the boat and they basically said, we're going to conquer or die. And they burned their boats, right? Have you had a burn the boat moment where you said, I'm all in, I got to go. We're burning the boats and here we go.
That was my last day at my last law firm because I couldn't take any clients with me. I just had to start from zero. And that was basically cutting off all financial ties and just jumping into the void where it's going to work or it's not. This is it. So it's
Yeah.
either hit the streets and make this work or else we're going to starve and I'm going to end up in a worse situation working for someone else I'm not going to enjoy.
And what was step one for you? You said, boom, you lit the match, you walked out the door.
Yep.
First step was what? You said, crap, now I got to get clients.
Yep. Exactly.
What'd
So
you do?
networking, I literally made a schedule I wrote down like 80 names of people I would text, call, email, get lunch with, just to at least get the word out and go from there. And that's when I hit LinkedIn hard too to get my name out there. If you Google my name, my LinkedIn came in first, even before our website. Um, and that kind of kept my mind busy from that. But as I was doing that, all of a sudden clients started showing up. All these
Yeah.
clients started percolating. And then you start formulating business relationships and professional relationships through all those meetings. So I think because I had that set up, that's what actually really springboarded me, or else I would have been sitting in my office twiddling my thumbs waiting for the phone to
Yeah.
ring. But I was on the streets all day, every day.
But explain that feeling, Kurt. Like Casey said, you burn the boat, you're out marketing. What's that feeling when that first client calls and you sign
Oh,
them up?
it's like, first off, I'll be like, oh, you have a case. Oh, wait, you want me to help you with it? Like, oh yeah, let me get my notepad. Let me get this information down.
Kids, be quiet.
Yeah, exactly. And then when the first settlement check came in, I remember giving it to our client. I actually have it on the wall too, a copy of it. And just as I handed it to her, I'm like, this is it. Like, it's going to work out. This is
I
it.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges you've encountered so far in the last year and a half of having your own firm?
Oh, it's a good problem, but it's a problem nonetheless. It's growth. So, like I said, cash flow takes like 3 years to catch up. I have been so aggressive about networking and marketing. I'm like a big workhorse and that kind of thing. We grew a lot faster than we thought we were.
Okay.
So our current client intake is like 7x what we thought it was going
Oh,
to be.
wow.
So we went in a year and a half from having just basically no one, and we have 9 people in the office now in a year and a half.
9 staff.
So
Okay.
yeah. So now our office is full. We signed a 5-year lease. We have 3 people in each office, 2 or 3 people. They're all doubled up. And we're to the point where we need to start hiring other attorneys. So that's been the hardest part. Good part, but the hardest is managing growth with the cash flow issue. So we're
Mhm.
trying to stabilize it a little bit, wait till more settlements come in
Yeah.
before we can expand it more.
And I think there's always that tricky part for entrepreneurs, the scaling process. How do you do so
Yes.
responsibly, not burn everything out,
Yep.
including employees? You don't want to burn out cash, employees.
Yep.
And there's that constant game of growth. So it is a good problem to have, but it's also a tricky problem to have. Um, and it sounds like you guys are, I mean, you're handling it, right? I've been in companies like that where we have, 3 people in an office, and for me, those are actually pretty fun. You get to learn a lot about your employees. You get to learn a lot about systems and processes and being kind to people, and the what's the corporate word for it? The not unity, but the crap. The I can't remember, but you build like unity with your coworkers and employees. And I actually love some of those. I worked inside of a company where we went from a setting like that to we bought a building, a much larger building, and we occupied space, and everybody spread out, and it just ruined the vibe. It was
Yeah.
brutal, and so like I'm actually a huge proponent of like scaling appropriately.
Yep.
And it sounds like you guys are on the right track. It's really really cool.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned a lot about networking. What role does networking play for you? I mean, it sounds like that was the basis of all your marketing, kind of where you started. I assume you will continue to network because it's that valuable for you.
Yeah. So I'm actually scaling up my networking even more. I'm just one of those people who loves to connect with people.
Yeah,
So I love checking in on them. My wife hates it because I'm always like on the phone with people.
yeah,
I'm just interested in their lives, and I love to see people succeed too. So I love to hear about it.
yeah,
Um, and that's kind of like addicting because once you start doing it more and more, like you get to meet new people, you get to find out more opportunities for people. And I'm always on the lookout for staff. That's the best way to find out for staff too. But our current client intake, we're probably getting 90% of our clients from
yeah.
referrals. We have really good Google ratings, but we don't get that many cases from Google. They're all from people we know. So as we get more clients, like it's almost been like gasoline on the fire. Like, oh, this is actually working. Like I need to scale up my networking even more to get more people coming in through the door.
What are your thoughts? So I am a huge proponent of networking. Part of the reason that Jimmy and I do this not only is to help people tell their stories, help other people understand you can do a lot of cool things for a living. There's a variety of ways
Yep.
to make money, but we love to also connect with people. We love to see people be successful and share those stories. I'm a huge believer that America was built on the backs of people started small companies, doing good business, being kind to their neighbors, and so we just want to share that vibe with people. So yeah, we're huge in alignment in that. What advice if somebody's watching you and they're like, okay, if Kurt can do it, I can do it. What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about becoming either an attorney or maybe they're already an attorney and making the jump to personal injury? What's some advice you'd give to somebody in that scenario?
Oh, um, just start taking people out to lunch. So you can learn a lot by taking someone out to lunch. So when I was a young personal injury attorney, I took out a bunch of other personal injury attorneys. And I learned about their business models, about how to litigate cases, about how they're running cases. Same thing in law school too. You can learn a lot about someone by sitting around for 2 hours and buying them a meal, and that kind of will give you the more options and also expand your network because now all of a sudden you have a friend that you met and you can keep in touch with, and you never know what happens. I mean, my last few jobs I got because I had friends helping me out or they told me about a job position.
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many people I've helped transition into personal injury because I knew about some firms hiring. And I reached out to them saying, hey, remember we had that conversation? I think you'd be a really good fit for this. And I reach out to the firm owner and say, hey, I think I got someone that's really good for you for this. So it's really just, again, the networking again. That's probably the best advice I could give you. Just take people out to lunch and never eat lunch alone. Lunch is such a good time to network. Everyone needs to eat lunch, and it's just low key, it's casual, and you can just talk like a human being instead of like showing up with a sales pitch in their office. No one likes that. No one likes to be sold.
yeah,
Just treat them like a human being, and the business will follow.
yeah.
Well,
I
it's funny.
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say it's funny that you said that, Kurt, because Kurt and I actually met at a networking. It was one I wasn't even gonna go to. I was busy. I'm like, you know what? All right, I'll just swing by, and that's how we got connected is through a networking group.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of. I think you can tell that Jimmy and I are both also people. Is that how you say that? On my way home from work. I do the same thing. I call old coworkers. I call friends just to check in on them, make sure they're doing good, see what's new. I'm actually part of a on Wednesdays. I'm part of a group that I call What Up Wednesday, and it's just a group of us, and we get together and we drop messages every Wednesday on what's new in our life, what's happened, what's going on with our family, and it's really neat just to create that connection. There's so many ways you can connect. Part of the reason that Jamie and I chose to do our podcast on Instagram Live is because number one, for exposure, that's great. Number two, it already chops up my videos the way I want them to be. But number three, we're able to reach new people. We're able to talk to people, help them understand something, help people connect with us in a way that perhaps they haven't before, and really just expand friendships. I'm a huge proponent that this life is so much sweeter when you have friends and acquaintances and you get to connect with people and have
Yep.
that human interaction. I genuinely feel bad for people who don't have that, and so I agree. Take the time to reach out to people. I actually, when Jimmy and I were first started talking about this, I thought maybe I'll do it over the lunchtime hour and like have kind of a like lunch break type mentality, right? So I agree. Lunchtime is super important. Michael Scott would agree that all business gets done at Chili's. Like that's he would just absolutely agree
Or
with you on that
Hooters or
sentiment.
Hooters.
Yes, yes. No, I absolutely love it. So I'm just about out of questions, just about to bottom out here. This has been such a fun conversation. I've learned so much. I wanted just a couple things. One of my favorite last questions to ask people is, what is kind of a dirty little secret inside your industry that most people don't know about?
Oh, we have a lot. They're not really little.
Oh, what's a dirty big secret? We'll take a big secret.
Probably the biggest secret is the amount of corruption that's involved in personal injury cases. So people don't realize that some clients are being bought and
Oh,
sold. They're being bought and sold by their attorneys. They're being bought and sold by their chiropractors or physical therapists. Uh, it's called marketing or marketers. They'll find someone and they'll sell you to an attorney and they'll go around and sell you to a chiropractor.
oh,
It's a felony in Utah, but a lot of firms do it. A lot of chiropractors do it to generate grassroots business without having to actually go out and do it. Um, that's one thing that people don't really realize is happening, but there's a lot of money being exchanged on the back end for people like that.
that's crazy. I had no idea. That's really intriguing. Jimmy, do you have any final questions?
Yeah, so one question is, so you always see the commercials that like, hey, so and so got me $500,000, but you have also have the same people with insurance coverage. You have a lot of people that are like, do you know what? I'm going to save $10 a month for lesser car insurance, the bare minimum. Just kind of explain really quick that's a good idea or why it's best just to invest $10 to better coverage.
Yeah, so better coverage is always a good idea, especially right now with coverage increases because people are buying way low insurance or they're not getting insurance at all. So when you buy high insurance policies, it's not for when you hit someone, it's for when you get hit by someone that doesn't have enough. You want to protect yourself. People always get really mad when there's not enough money in their settlement because they bought a cutthroat insurance
Hmm.
policy and they also got hit by someone who got a cutthroat insurance policy. Well, it's not that person's fault. You can't control them. They already hit you. But it's your fault because you had that choice to get a bigger policy. And people don't realize that the difference between having the state minimums and a much higher policy is literally like $15-20 a month. It's well worth it. Especially like an ER visit right now can cost anywhere from ten to $25,000 depending on how many CT scans they do. That could be the entire policy just for that one visit.
So that extra $10, $15 a month could probably, with an accident, give you hundreds of $1,000s for medical care that you may need.
Yep, exactly.
So I think that's a huge thing you just uncovered. It literally blew my mind. I didn't even think about that. When you're buying insurance, like car insurance or whatever, you're buying it for yourself. You're not necessarily doing it to fulfill law. I mean, you legally are supposed to have it when you're driving, but really it's to cover your own things. I always thought it was for the other side.
Yep.
So this is, I don't want to say brand new information, but my mind's blown just a little bit thinking this is actually for me too.
Yeah, everyone always thinks, well, I'm a really good driver. I'm never going to get in an accident, so I can have the smallest insurance policy.
Hmm.
That's not that's fine for you, but you don't control everyone else. So if you get hit by a drunk driver and they have no insurance and you have cut throat insurance, you're probably not going to get one, the medical treatment you need, or two, any kind of settlement in your pocket either.
Yeah, and that's what I always tell my kids. My youngest is 17, so I have one that's been driving for a while, one that's only been driving for a year. And I always tell her, I said, babe, because she always says, I'm a good driver. I said, I know you're a good driver. I'm not concerned about you. I'm concerned about everybody else on the road. And I think that holds true. Yeah, you never know if you're going no insurance, cut rate insurance. You never know what's going to happen. And so protecting you and your family, because I remember there were times where my wife and I foolishly, for half a second, thought, well, maybe we won't get full coverage on like the kids on their car because it's a piece of crap car and whatever. But it's really protecting the driver, you know?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
15
super
minutes
smart.
doesn't always save you 15% at the end.
I know. It actually costs you a lot of money.
Very true. Well, Kurt, this has been absolutely fantastic. Tell people how they can find you, how they can get a hold of you, because I promise you that somebody's going to come your way and say, hey, I saw you on Open Source Entrepreneur, and want to make sure they get in contact with you.
You can Google us, London Harker Injury Law. Our main office is in Sandy, Utah, on 90th South. You can Google me, Kurt London. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Also, we have our Facebook or Instagram page for our law firm. It's London Harker Law. And yeah, pretty
And
easy to find.
remember, guys, at the end of the day, you don't pay them unless you get a settlement. And so, literally nothing out of your pocket. Do yourself a favor, get a hold of them, get a larger settlement than you would have ever gotten by yourself. Do not sleep on this. We had a travel agent on a couple of weeks ago, and she said the same thing. I don't get paid until like I book you a vacation, and the company pays me. You pay nothing out of pocket. And
Yep.
so I think there's so many of these services that people are unaware that they can use in their life and take advantage of, and it costs nothing.
Yep.
So guys, do yourself a favor. Make sure you look them up. Thank you so much for being with us, Kurt. Just absolutely fantastic. Stick around with us while Jimmy gives us and closes up the day with the Deseret Counseling Mental Health Moment.
Jim, mental health moment of the day is kind of like Kurt said, with being an attorney, you get in an accident, and a lot of people don't think that, or a lot of people think they can just do it on their own. I'm not hurt, I don't need anything. Maybe I feel a little bit of pain, but not enough to call an attorney. Our mental health is the same way, where we might feel like something's off, something just doesn't feel right, and we think we can do it on our own, but it's best just to get in with someone, work it out, because there's professionals out there, because you don't have to feel like you don't always have to feel off, you don't always have a bad day. Have someone work with you so your day turns a little bit brighter.
Love it. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Kurt. It was a pleasure to be with you guys tonight. Have a blessed night. We'll see you next week.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
guys. Thank you.